And last month was, unexpectedly, the world's warmest January on record. There was a shift away from El Niño, that key, very important weather pattern. And because of that, scientists predicted things would be a little cooler, but they weren't. And that has raised fresh concerns about the pace of climate change. Well, Professor Sir Bob Watson led the international UN body, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, for 5 years. He has previously worked at the UN, NASA, the UK's Department for the Environment and the US White House. He is one of the world's most eminent voices on this topic. And he explained to me a little earlier what exactly these new figures show us, and particularly why they confounded expectations.
Well, there's no question the Earth is warming. And what the data now shows is it's consistently warmer than maybe any scientist expected. 18 of the last 19 months have been the warmest on record, all of them exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than pre-industrial. So the data is showing us the Earth is warmer and probably greater than most scientists would have expected.
And the interesting thing about this particular set of figures is that people thought that this January would buck the trend.
Last year, 2024, did exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. And many of us put that down to, well, we were going through something called an El Niño, which is a warming spell. And so the thought was that by the time we came to this year, January of this year, we probably would not expect to see the January temperature this year exceeding that of last year, and it has. The question now really is, why is the Earth warming as much as it has? Have we as scientists underestimated just how sensitive the climate system is to putting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere?
That question of why, do we know the answer?
No, I don't think we do. I think what we expected the Earth to continue to warm, no question about that. But it appears that the warming even exceeds what we might have expected, which leads us to the question, have we underestimated the global warming? And boy, what does that mean for the future?
Yeah, what are the dangers in that?
Last year, 2024, was a warm year. We saw wildfires all around the world. We saw floods in different places. We saw droughts in different places. And that's with a 1.5 world. Now, the question is, what's happening? Well, the governments of the world have said we need to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. To be honest, government action around the world is not going to limit warming to 1.5. We're on a pathway to 2.5 to 3 degrees Celsius and possibly even more than 3 degrees Celsius. If we see all of these wildfires, floods and droughts at 1.5, what will the world look like if we're seeing 2.5, 3 or 3.5 degrees Celsius in the next few decades?
Well, I mean, what would that look like?
Well, what it means is we're going to have major challenges around the world. We're going to have challenges of food security, especially places that have difficulties today, such as Africa. We're going to have difficulties with water quantity and quality in different parts of the world. There'll be challenges on human health, heat-related deaths, vector-borne diseases such as malaria and dengue, and our nature, our tropical forests, our coral reefs, our cloud forests, will all be threatened by these changes in temperature, accompanied by changes in precipitation.
This is one of those issues, isn't it? One of those things that can make people, all of us, feel a bit powerless. You feel like the direction is already set and that there's not a great deal that we can do to reverse things. But is that the case? You know, what is the situation? What would it take to actually pull things back into line?
There's no question. Governments working together and working with the private sector, we can start to address this. We may not be able to limit global warming to 1.5, which was the Paris Agreement, but if we can get governments and private sector to work together, we can limit global warming. We need to produce our energy cleanly. That means no more fossil fuels, but use renewable energy such as solar energy, wind energy, hydropower. We need to use our energy more efficiently with efficient buildings, mass transportation, efficient transportation, etc. We can do something, but we need the governments of the world to work together. And to be quite honest, none of the governments in the world are doing enough.
Professor Sir Bob Watson, thank you for joining us.